Yes, job people, this is Michael Shamaya representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes, wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
It's AWTITUDE representing for Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion, them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we no Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire, pull from them. No Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence, Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence, flash of all sevens, projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and overstanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. Yes, I lion vibes, Selassie, I reign and rule. Attitude say that Boondocks, Black Organization of Global Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's Voice. Now put it, I jolly for say that.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here, hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice. Tell them bowledge. Far I tell them bow, I listen I when me tell them bowledge. The far I tell them bow, I listen I when me tell them bowledge. The far I tell them bow, I listen I when me tell them bowledge. The far I tell them bow, I listen I. The 23rd of July, born in a province named Harar, I burn them God from sky. Cause I know the prophecy is true. Cause unto us the son was born 1892. He built the OAU, come break all chains. Tell them to far I was his name the same. Man that crowned as the Ras, it didn't come fast. Went from village to the chess match, who governed in Harar from the age of 13. This is you blessed with Iris, supreme first king. Hear the throne with him queen, hear the trumpet sound. Head around, tell the youths them come in village. The far I tell them both.
The year is 1892, and the land of Ethiopia has been experiencing 4 years of terrible famine and drought. They call it the Kikuken, or the evil days. At least 1/3 of the human population and 90% of the cattle have died. The hyenas have feasted on so many carcasses that they have become overweight and barely able to move. Just when the people could take no more of the evil days, a woman named Wasiro Yeshimabet is giving birth in a place called Erjersa Gora. This is her 9th attempt to bring forth new life. Her previous 8 attempts only resulted in death. Will this child live? Thankfully, a healthy baby boy is born. His first cries are drowned by thunder and lightning flashes across the night sky. The heavens open up and torrential rain starts to fall. Ethiopia's drought is over, and the baby boy is given the name Tafari, meaning one to be feared or respected. Lich Tafari's father, Ras Tafari, is a very important man in 1892 Ethiopia. Although he is overjoyed at the birth of his newborn son, he cannot spend much time with him. Ras Tafari is the governor of Harar and must get back to the famous walled city to deal with its affairs. Furthermore, he is the foreign minister of Ethiopia, and having traveled to different places in Europe, he is very aware of the material and military advances they have made and the looming threats they pose to his country. Ras Tafari knows that the majority of Ethiopians have no idea what is coming, and that he has to work that much harder to secure the realm. Lich Tafari would grow up to become the legendary emperor, Haile Selassie I. To understand his journey, we must first understand the Ethiopia that he was inheriting and what it was like when he was born in 1892. Get your copy of Kwesi Bansu's book, Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1, The Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings, and increase your knowledge about the history, politics, and culture of Ethiopia in 1892, and how it connects to the rest of African and world history at the time. Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1 is available for purchase at www.bookmanexpress.pub. Please visit for more information.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwesi Bansu, aka the Chasmach Kwesi, aka Ras Kwesi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome, family, to Lion Talk Live, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions and the lionesses are telling our own story. We have a very special episode this evening. Bless up all the Lion Pride who are here from early. I know more will be joining us. We are going to celebrate the birth of Lich Tafari, Tafedi, if you want to go by the strict Amharic, in the West we say Tafari. However, it is clear that July 23rd is now celebrated across the four corners of creation. On every continent, there is someone celebrating the birth of this baby boy. And tonight, we're going to talk about it. I've brought two guests that are going to be, I myself, I wish I had a notepad in front of I. If you have ital snacks, whatever the item I have tonight, just get yourself prepared, because I brought two top scholars this evening. Lion Voice Network. It's a network in real life. So we are tapping PhD level Rastafari. And these PhD are not regular Babylon PhD. They're PhD that are on the ground, grassroots organizers who are also connected with immunity. So this reasoning tonight, I'm excited about it. This is one of my favorite topics because they them know already. I wrote a book about the birth of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. So that by itself showed the item how serious I am, livicated years of I life to write a book. So that's what's happening tonight. Big up all of the family. Big up Sister Zana from Dominica, Lion Pride family. You know what I mean? The Lion Pride on Patreon. I can't tell the item enough how the support powers this work that we're doing, because yes, we are all volunteer Ethiopians. However, things cost. You know what I mean? Everything in creation costs money. So for the subscribers that actually invest their hard-earned resources in this time of Armageddon, it shows how much they value Rastafari independent non-aligned media. And you know, I have to sound the trumpet and tell the family, no one is coming to save us. We have to fund our own liberation. So you don't have to support the Lion Voice Network, but make sure you're spending your Rastafari dollar with Rastafari institutions that you would like to see preserve and elevate the Rastafari future. If we're not doing that, then we're delusional. We're living in delusion. So we have to invest. So my Lion Pride on Patreon, we're down to 13. We're up to 18. We lost some warriors along the way. And that name, sometimes you don't have it. We don't watch that. We don't judge that. You know, we give thanks for the ones who come in as long as they can support. And we celebrate those who, you know, continue the struggle. We want to evolve this into a full production studio. We want Rastafari news programs, Rastafari cartoon animation. We want Rastafari blockbuster films. We want Rastafari documentaries. Lion Voice Network, the vision is vast. We have to create content that preserves our cultural narrative, and we have to invest to do that. Babylon does it, you know, and our youths are consuming it. We're going to talk about all of that tonight on this episode. So again, if you're not subscribed to the platform, subscribe to the platform. You are witnessing the rise of Rastafari independent non-aligned media, and we say independent because we're funded by the people. The Lion Pride on Patreon, I work for them. If they say they want to see Dr. Kadamawe Knife, you know who I got come on the platform? Dr. Kadamawe Knife. I just saw the thing go. We work for the people, and he was requested by our Patreon. So we have him here this evening. I just want the people to know that when we say independent, it has to be crowdfunded, because if we are depending on sponsors, then when the sponsor talk, more time you have to listen, because if they withdraw their money, you have to fire your staff. Everybody's gone. We talked about it with Professor Robbie Shilliam in terms of funding. Crowdfunding is the way forward. It's the future, and it's the surest way that we can ensure the integrity of our platforms. If everybody just give a little bit, then we don't have to worry about big sponsors having too much sway over our institutions. So if you can give the $10, which is $2.50, do you value Rastafari independent media that you could give $2.50 every strong to ensure that we can build this platform? Ask yourself these questions. What is the value? What are you spending your money on in Babylon? Spend it with us, and the item will see the work. We have over 700 pieces of content on the platform already, and I'm fully loaded, getting ready for drop. We just returned from Jamaica. We have Rastafari Indigenous Village. We have exclusive reasoning with Dr. Kadamawe Knife, Rasta Buki from Life Yard, Sister Tiana from Life Yard. We are really committed to elevating Rastafari in terms of the reasoning right now, the direction, because repatriation time, the Armageddon. I am in Washington, D.C., where we had Benjamin Netanyahu at the Capitol today. Huge protest, our city lockdown, downtown shut down. And Benjamin Netanyahu quoted Churchill today. The man said, Churchill said, give us the tools and we'll finish the job. Netanyahu said, give me the tools faster and we'll finish the job faster. A war speech, a man come drop, you know what I mean, in Washington, D.C. today. So if the item think the Gideon War is not unfolding, again, I will use the word delusion. So the time to come together is now. The time to control our narrative is now. The time to invest in self, invest in community is now. This is the Gideon our elders told us about. Every sector on the planet is preparing, either for war or for peace or whatever they want to do, but everybody are prepared. So let us not be like the careless Ethiopian. I'm committed to carrying the story, you know what I mean, and to tell that story. So big up again everyone who has been supporting this journey. Big up Ramia King Design, Ras Lidge, big up yourself. You know, I drink from the tumbler. I soon pull out my tumbler and drink the liquid while the two doctors them are reason, you know what I mean? I have to support the thing. And big up CMAS Life, Wally Kings, created CMAS drink. These are people again who are support the platform. So we have to acknowledge and give thanks. And if you have a small business and you want to support, reach out to I and you know, let us again do business, let us build our institutions and our infrastructures in the Rastafari community. All right, that is the housekeeping. We seal up with that now. Now we have two powerhouse guests tonight. Both of them are alumnus of the Lion Voice Network. None of them are new to this platform, but trust me, family, when me say facts are gonna fly like rain tonight, facts are gonna fly like rain. This is going to be a special one. I am so excited. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the item to Dr. Asantewaa Oppong and Dr. Kadamawe Knife. Blessing and Isis. Yes.
Devices.
Isis.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
let me just introduce the item quickly. Introduce the item self. Start with the eye doctor, Asantewaa, and then the eye doctor Knife, and then we'll start getting into the topic.
All right. Give thanks to Jasmine Kwesi. It's always just a blessing to be here. I am Dr. Asantewaa Oppong and Dr, living in Illinois, central United States. A mother, a professor, a homeschooler, and several other hats. But most importantly, on this very sacred mission of restoring African identity to African people and making sure that we have a place at the world's table. So, yeah, that's how I would introduce myself.
Yes, and she wrote a book, Empress Men in Chronicles. I was looking for my copy. Sorry, I don't have it right here, but I'm going to try to find it before we seal up. So she's an author, published author, which is a collection of different Sistren writers and facts about Empress Men that I didn't know. So, you know, big up yourself. Dr. Knife, please introduce thyself.
I give thanks. So I am Kadamawe Knife, researcher in the area of entrepreneurship and strategic planning. You know, we have primary focus on what we call social entrepreneurship. You know, it's not a new concept, those are just new words. When you check the history of any people who are disenfranchised, particularly African people, Caribbean people, but people always have some kind of social entrepreneurial mindset towards resolving them problems, you know? And we look at models that our people actually use. So the focus is really on supporting sustainable community development wherever we go. That's the primary focus. And we don't adopt trickle down neoliberalist, neoclassical models for development, because those things never work. See? So the objective is really to just build people capacity. We really say empower people to empower themselves. Don't put it like that. That is our sole mission. How do we empower people to empower themselves? You know, with a framework of self-reliance and collective security. That are the pillars of all the work we do. You know, how we help people become self-reliant. And as we become more self-reliant, we become stronger. So that is my whole thing. Yeah, research, teaching, outreach.
Give thanks, give thanks. And um, the item will see why that's important to this reasoning shortly, because yes, we're going to talk about Lige Tafari and the birth, the entire Rastafari community globally. Yesterday, it's coming out of a kind of Isla full current, of celebration wherever one's gather, whether it's Naya Bingi, Bobo Shanti, 12 tribe, even those who don't have any affiliation would be in their gates a whole of joy if you know say Lige Tafari was born. So I want to set the stage, and I'm going to take it to the eye, Dr. Asantewaa, in terms of, let us set the stage. Who is Lige Tafari? Why is this day important from an African perspective?
All right, give thanks for the question. I think I will begin by saying that the timing of Lige Tafari's birth is extremely significant. Um, exactly 400 years before that, prior to 1892 when he was born, we have the crushing really of the last African stronghold or kingdom of the Moors in Spain, and the expulsion of African people and their rulership from Spain, which will then in the same year precipitate the journey of Christopher Columbus across the Atlantic. And within a very short time period, we're talking about less than 10 years of Christopher Columbus crossing the Atlantic, we have records of full-fledged slavery underway in Saint Domingue, what we would call today Haiti. And this, of course, is going to spread like a virus across the islands of the Caribbean, South America, and North America. And so what we have is Africa and African people in a grip, right? At the height of what we know and we call, possibly wrongly, the slave trade, because there was no real trade. We have 1 out of every 3 African people in bondage somewhere in the world.
Wow.
So to have someone born who's coming with a lot of strength, and I want to comment on that a little later, a lot of vision for righting this horrible wrong, stepping into this Ma'afa, this Manganese, this calculated takedown of African people, and giving a powerful push for the upturn of African people, the return of our sovereignty and our self-governance. It can't be understated. It can't be understated. Other historians will, use other markers. I use the birth of His Majesty to mark this very significant ascendancy. Whereas for some time, namely 400 years, there had been something of a crumbling, and that is not to say that there was no resistance to that, but there was something of a crumbling, something of a downturn in the African experience.
Highly. Dr. Knife.
I listen to the Dr. Knife smile because there's no such thing as coincidence, seeing? And so when I was thinking about the reasoning, I said, just approach it from an area there's no ambiguity, which is in numbers, numerology.
Okay.
Seeing? Yeah, the numerology, and that is within the whole fullness of Haile Selassie. And we like to talk about the breaking of the drought, and the fact that his mommy had 8 miscarriage, and the virgin coming on the 9. I don't know what 9 means in terms of 9 being the perfect number, which actually represents I in the alphabet. That is what fans both above and below, which is the same correspondence symbol I'm used as the David star. So essentially, you find that all those things, is in birth alone being 9, embodies that principle of correspondence as above, so below. Same triple crown, same David Star, the same egg of life, the same thing that we used to call Merkaba. That is all that is embodied within that fullness right there. But when the sister mentioned the 400 years, why I give thanks to that reason, sister. You really know what I give thanks. Because if you mention the 400 years now, you see 400 equal to 4. And 4 is stability. 3 is the first.
Yes.
3 is the first shape. That's why the triune governs everything. But 4 is what creates stability. And so the coming of Haile Selassie at that exact 400 years. I know you go into Haile Selassie's number because Haile Selassie number, so the 23rd of July, 1892 is actually 5. And 5 means change.
Mm-hmm.
And what the sister mentioned to I was that say Haile Selassie birth mark is a serious change taking place in the face of the earth.
Yes, I.
It's exactly what Haile Selassie number represents. And if you go and read it, you'll see it. One who will bring significant changes. And you can see how Haile Selassie work has changed, not just Ethiopia, but the entire globe. So in fulfilling that fullness, there are other elements. Who knows again what July the 23rd actually means in terms of ancient esoteric practices, with the rising of Sirius A and the sun and the earth forming that planetary alignment. And that when Sirius A rises, the sunlight enters into the great pyramid of Giza in the atrium, where the sacred marriage takes place, given to what I call that virgin birth, is the man going to a state of enlightenment. And so the first, in terms of the astrological manifestation of the triune that day, also represents the power of the triune, which is in my own Irish now. This is just my own Irish saying this now.
Yeah, man. That's why the eyes here,
Yeah, my own Irish saying all that is one of the primary reasons Haile Selassie is seen as the power of the triune, because as above, so below. So as it manifests astrologically now, it manifests in earth biologically as well. And if you notice again that he got the name Haile Selassie, how many days after?
40 days.
Part represents stability again.
Haile.
So that shows that this is the being who comes in aeration, the being who embodies the full power of the triune, which governs all of aeration. And I do like that because I tell you, people can't really question numbers, because numbers is an exact science, it's an exact kind of vibes. And so the numbers itself give you insight into who Haile Selassie is. And all the stories, and this is the thing where people must realize now, it's when people create stories, whether you think they are true or not, around any being, it tells that there's something very unique and special about that being. So one might not be able to express it in the fullness of form that really want to express it, but still wanted to recognize that this is not a regular situation. But we have a lot of evidence about Haile Selassie and the things that them do as a youth, etc. and things, which substantiates what people know, no matter what people believe, And this is probably the most important element now, Guys, the sister, I really appreciate that point with you, because it's an entire system broke down, Hey, when the member say it's a Pope, it's a Rome, triune they meet,
Yes.
And Isabel and Ferdinand,
Go deep. Yeah, man. Why not?
Yeah, and meet and say, I'm going to go and take over the rest of the space, which them knew about. Is that this going to try this, going to know about this place. And when the Empress was showing, is that now the power of the triune manifests 400 years after to block down all of that system. And in doing that, it was really and almost an amplification where we are moved from out of one age into the next. And I want people to realize that we are moved out of the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. The Piscean age, where Europe dominate, is an age based on belief. And as Rastafari, I always ask, Rastafari do not believe, Rastafari know. And so we are moved from a belief age now into a knowing age. if you look at the symbols that are used, the symbols that was used to represent the power of the triune, the power of the Trinity, in Haile Selassie's coronation, is the same symbol that is used for what is called the Aquarian age, which is the age that we are in now. The age of knowing. You go look back on the National Geography thing, man. You see what they call the Ben sign.
Yes.
Same symbol. Type in a computer the symbol for the Aquarian age and you'll see it. That's where all these things are used. You see the symbol of the avatar thing use the same triune symbol. All those things are there. See, so this is really the age of Rastafari, and the age of Rastafari, not in terms of, oh, a man saying that a Rastaman now, but the age of knowing and the age of self-actualization, which is part of the role what I know as Rastafari bring, but what I Selassie actually brought to the earth. Because when you go on, remember, when you think about what a monarch actually is, Ethiopia being the most ancient monarch, I may have talked before Solomon and Sheba, may have talked Ethiopia going further and further, the seed of knowledge. So Haile Selassie is like a gateway to oneself and one agency. It's about knowing self, know thyself. That's what I say. So I will argue that Haile Selassie word was an opener and a stargate to man. I people recognizing who they are before when the regular scholars would have talked about origins and start times. It's a serious thing. And it was usual, the people who know the least about it tends to be I people, you know. All of Rome knew of this and observing. You see, all the religious people talk about the virgin birth and Jesus' birth and them.
Yes.
It's a culture of people that, you know. So the same way these European people who are historians, that's why the people who are archaeologists and historians are so revered in scholarship, because them give people insight into certain things. And so they were aware of this, what people might even call a prophecy of the birth of Haile Selassie, and them see these things happening.
Some people say that the Battle of Adwa, that the Italian invasion and the move was to stamp out, because the word sound of Ras McConnell's son started to get out, because this was a youth with unusual abilities, and we're going to talk about some of the unusual abilities. So some people say Adwa was really the Rome now, sending a force to really take, you know, of course the Berlin Conference, they had reserved that space for themselves, but they move, and His Majesty would have been the age of 4, and I just started that because you saw it say, you know, 4 is the age of stability. His Majesty was 4 years old at the Battle of Adwa. So there's so much connection. Family, we're going deep tonight, you know. Drop your comments. Let us know where you're watching from as well. So any questions you have for the two guests, we'll try to get to them.
And not just question for you, because I remember saying these people are a reservoir of information.
Reservoir of information, yes.
We have no monopoly for knowledge, so anybody have any information for share.
Yeah, man. You know? Put it in the comments. And make the reasoning sweet. So, stick a pin there, Knife. So, Dr. Asantewaa, you hear what the brethren say. What do I want to add to that?
Listen, I love numerology, but the way you explained it was brand new. So yes, give thanks. It made perfect sense to me when we look at numbers, especially that number 5 being a number of change, because that is what we're really going to see in terms of change. And I just wanted to add that, you know, I came up like most around Rastafari people. And, you know, sometimes as we talk to each other, we talk with a lot of mysticism, you know, and, you know, there's a whole lot of, you know, spiritual thought around the birth of His Majesty. And I really appreciate that. Honestly, you can relish the mysticism. It just has more that you can soak up. But I think that just in terms of your point, Judgment Kwazi, about how we preserve this for the future, there's some things that we have to make clear that are mystic, but exceed that, also are historical, also have understandings from the world of psychology, from the world of sociology. There's implications for it all, right? It's not just mystical. It also has implications across the board. So if we look at how the child Tafari was born, and so very little is known, and I really appreciate the work of Dr. Waleti Beresford and other people like Ras Kips Ezekiel, who's doing more on His Majesty's mother and His Majesty's birth. But even just from what we have from the autobiography of His Majesty, he makes it clear, like from the outset, and I must say here that I am a student of midwifery and an advocate of natural birth and a natural birther myself. And in those circles, we talk about the pre-baby. What is happening between the parents before the conception even happens? Right? And how important that is for the outcome of who we have in front of us once the child manifests. And we can see from the stage of the pre-baby, as he explains, he makes it 100% clear, even though the actual gentleman that wrote and translated his autobiography, may not have put the right emphasis on it. We have to accept that it's a translation. He says, my father loved my mother. Almost like what we see with Hatshepsut in the ancient Nile, where she writes out her conception story on the walls of her temple. Like, do not think that I was conceived wrongly. I was conceived of the gods. His Majesty also makes it clear. He loved my mother and married her in Christian form. Now, this is important when you understand the sociology or the makeup of Ethiopia, which allowed for a common marriage. If necessary, one that could be easily overturned if necessary, right? But also had a church marriage. And those marriages that were done in the church could not be overturned. So His Majesty introduces himself as he is narrating this story as one who came through a church marriage. A stable, we said about the number 4 being stability, a stable home. And we know, if we speak as like midwives speak, that from the time you meet your husband, the person who will be the father of your child, and he's telling you his ideas about life and what he wants out of life, all of that is part of conception, right? He's literally sowing into you what he wants to see manifest. I always wanted to have this type of family. These are my goals. I would like to see Ethiopia rise. I would like to see Harar become this. All of that is part of conception. So he was conceived with these really, with a real strong force if we look at who he describes his father as.
Yeah.
And the ambition of his father to really see, because he had gone to Europe, he had seen how the world, wait a minute, we got to catch up. We got to do something different if we're going to maintain sovereignty in the world. His father literally, and I feel safe in saying, sowed this into the mother. This is part of the conception story. And as he says, my birth was from love. My birth was stable. My birth wasn't just, randomly, this is somebody he knows, I
want to ask the Empress something. I'll make sure
Good.
Because there are stories, there's information about, the fact that she had the 8 miscarriages. And then they went into a serious, deep meditation and pilgrimage to ensure that the conception now that is going to take place will manifest. More those wanted to link back that kind of, because I always ask that the child choose a parent, And so when I was having my children, I actually reach out before them come forward into earth, because that is something real. But in terms of your understanding of midwifery and all that connection, how you see that narrative around it, in terms of the preparation that actually took place to ensure that I manifest on that 9th occasion.
So much there that we could talk about. But here's what I would say, that each child that a woman loses is a devastating loss. And, it's a loss, right? And if we accept that in life, all of our losses are lessons, then I would say that by the time we get a couple that has lost 8, they have learned profound lessons. and that they would, focus their attention on bringing someone powerful here prayerfully. Everyone who narrates the story talks about the prayer, the actions that were taken, the use of fast that brought forth His Majesty successfully. So I see it as a couple who has learned the lessons and now is ready to manifest something very powerful, as you said, on this number 9.
Unmute yourself, Congo. There you go.
What happens now is how all of these energies culminate into the manifestation that took place on this day. Remember, the mommy and the father planning, them focusing, them having these rituals to ensure that the being comes into this three-dimensional space. Yes. And it's not by chance that it happens on the most ancient sacred day in ancient societies, which is the July the 23rd. Not these things. There's no such thing as coincidence. So even when you think about strategic plan, I think about the unknown, even though there are things that we do not know, no one can deny how these things happen, and clearly, Demonstration said if his father wanted some family, who can carry on particular thing. Look at the characters of his father and the characters of his mother now. Those are key characters to make him become a head servant of him people, because him know for deal with is like the 3 dimensions. You can deal with the physical governance of space. Yes, you have also can deal with the minds of people, which I find that mothers tend to have them tend to nurture your mind to love and respect and serve people. They have the heretical elements, which you might get through all them upbringing and all of the support that the spiritual people have around him. So these things are not by chance. So the parents, just as the sister was saying earlier now, it's like you go to a kind of neuro-linguistic programming even before the conception. Means a true thought. See, you are prepared for how this being. And as the child comes into the being now, all that program is still taking place because the mommy is still doing all of her own meditation.
Yes.
These are not illusory things,
Yes.
These are very real things. The state of the mommy before the pregnancy significantly influences, because it's like, remember, you can't put a certain kind of engine in a certain kind of vehicle body. It don't match. So the rate of vibration of the parent have a match the rate of vibration of the being actually coming in. So there's, and people realize it's about their children as well. It's about Haile Selassie. Your youth, you will know your child because you know your own consciousness at the time at which that conception actually takes place.
I love that point. And the other thing, in terms of setting the stage for this birth, Ethiopia was the only last bastion of free African space on the planet at the time that this being is entering into the 3rd dimension, as you say, the earthly plane. And Ethiopia had been invaded, prior. We have the Battle of Dagali with Rasalula encountering Italian battalion moving in from Eritrea. We had the jihadist invasion that had killed Emperor Johannes from Sudan, which was in turn being funded through the Ottoman Empire. We had Egypt invade 2 times during the reign of Emperor Johannes. And again, these are the Ottoman Turks. So we had the last free space of African land that was constantly being invaded, threatened, the sovereignty threatened, and the defense. And as you say, Ras Makonnen was one of the few Ethiopians who had ever left Ethiopia, who had been to Europe, who had seen the modern armaments and the industrialization, because I want the people to realize the anciency. When we talk about anciency, we're talking about people that are still barefoot. The nobility is still barefoot. So that's showing you the anciency of the
Right.
Ethiopian. That the nobility is not, they're not wearing shoes not because they don't, it's because they don't have the money to get shoes. Them man, they have gold till you think they're just moving within a ancient order.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So 20 years later, or even more than 20, when in the first airplane is brought in by a young Tafari, the church says it's a demon, that he's brought demons into the country. So they were not used to any form of mechanization in Ethiopia them time. They don't know about automobile, car, they're riding horses, mules. Ashanti is a land where the lion, the Ethiopian black maned lion, is still out there. When you're moving through, you have to move arm, because lion and leopard and them thing they're out there, and hyena when you're camping at night, and these men are moving in tents. You know what I mean? So it's a African landscape, ancient landscape that we're talking about when Lich Tafari is born in the mountains of Ajerso Godo. And we have to communicate this to our children, because the earth has changed so much since that time. And Ethiopia, remember, was also isolated from the rest of the world. So a lot of that modern advancement, His Majesty brought the first printing press. Again, as a young Ras, brought the first paved road was at the coronation. St. George is the first paved road in Ethiopia. So, and this is much later than even when he was born. You know what I mean? So we're talking about that Asian society. I know Kadamawe Knife.
And the anciency is in.
Yeah.
While the anciency society, people can look on some of the infrastructure and social structure. But there's a greater agency, which is the knowledge, and what Ethiopia represent. Because I'm gonna tell you something. These guys in Rome, I know that Haile Selassie has grown up as a youth, because you about 1892. Yes, I'm at the Berlin conference where they plan to split up Africa. As a youth, you're knowing these things and you're hearing about these things, because people know what I want. See? And you think about now, these people recognize that Ethiopia is a place where the seat of the knowledge is. The discussion surrounding the Ark of the Covenant is not something that's happened just the other day. These are things that are always being discussed. See, when people talk about Night Templars and those people are always searching for and know of a number of different things. So sometimes when we are reasoning about it, I don't know if people really truly recognize what Ethiopia represented. There was a virgin named Reverend M. Means, I think, who wrote a book named Ethiopia and the Missing Link in about 1945. And in that book, he wrote that the coronation of Haile Selassie reflected one of the most ancient practices of ancient Atlantis. And he was arguing that it was in the fact that in ancient Atlantis, persons who govern certain spaces were called kings, and the ones who govern the entire Atlantean colonies was called the King of Kings. So he was linking that principle of the King of Kings in Ethiopia to that of ancient Atlantis. But it was also, but if it also look at other people who were influenced by ancient Ethiopia, which includes India, which is a daughter of Ethiopia, according to this Greek man Herodotus. He, in India, a person who becomes an enlightened being is called an Agas. And so the most enlightened of all enlightened beings is called an Agus Nagas. Is the root of the words and the sounds you use it. And if you look at all the Naga people are the most spiritual people in as a matter of what they are saying, those were Ethiopians who came and ruled and governed India. They actually call them Naga, the Naga people. So you find that those people knew what Ethiopia represents and had significant interest. And now you have a youth who's been born to a man who's a general, who's fully aware of what those plans are. I know that part of his responsibility is not just his son now. He must be thinking about succession planning in terms of a whole generation of youth who must grow now to safeguard Ethiopia. That is a part of the mindset. And Haile Selassie was being socialized amongst other youth as well.
Yes.
To know, all right, And early, you say by the time he reached about age 13, he must have been given responsibility for govern a space.
Yeah, man.
Seeing some serious things I made them know. 13 from 1892, 20 or 13. That's what? About 19 much. That's just before World War. That's just before World War.
1895, yeah.
You see what I say? So you must think about World War in Europe. Europe and them placing some serious problems them time there, you know.
Yeah.
And so even the whole interest in Africa became even stronger now. This why you hear me talk about it, how we get resources. So as a youth are growing at a time whereby that part of the world is in serious turmoil and exploitation in Africa was at a serious level.
The slave trade was active in Ethiopia at that time. The African slave trade going through Arabia. You know what I mean? This was very prevalent in Ethiopia at the time of his birth. Harar was one of the major slave trading ports for Africans coming from the interior. We're also talking about a time where the European powers, were starting to really clamp down in terms of, before they started with trade deals and the British trading companies. But this is a time when they're actually, locking down territory and establishing, physical colonies of people to really take over the resources of the land. So it's a very, as you say, it's a tumultuous time. And his Majesty says at the age of 13, although his position allowed him to sit in judgment, he decided to appoint someone else to sit in judgment until he was 16. And you can imagine his Majesty was a small man, so when he was a child, he was even smaller. So he didn't want to embarrass the people to have this child, making decisions over life and death, even though he had the authority. So think about the mind of a youth that is thinking in this way, as a teenager, where he's still pulling the strings and appointing and delegating tasks, and governing, but he's doing it in a way that, that Christ consciousness that we talk about, that anointed vibration where all knowledge is accessible from him born, because his Master also says, I got in trouble as a child, but you know why? Because I wanted to learn more, and my teachers wanted to rest. You know what I mean? And he was just tiring out all of his tutors, his homeschool collective.
Is the one ushering the age of information, is knowing. So the quest for knowledge, as I say, I took responsible for that area as well, which is education.
Yes,
and by the way, 13 is also a 4, 3 and 1 is 4. That's the next stability number right there, so as well. See, so a lot of these things we can connect and see. There was no error. There was no error. And the time period, I mean, is a serious time period that persons were growing up in that time, and people must look and see what was happening in Africa in the early 1900s. What happened to why the World War I started? You can hear stories, but find out what is the real reason behind World War I. All that will come down to who have access to what resources and where.
That's it. Right.
And you check it now. It's the same thing I go on now,
Yes.
See, so as I say, I grew up as a youth, coming up in the early 1900s, and World War I finished, and Marcus Garvey rise. The same 1920s, early 1920s.
Yes.
And you have the same kind of madness with a pandemic, like the Spanish flu and time,
Spanish flu, yeah, the Spanish flu.
All right. Which
Yes.
actually, during that time, it also that precipitated a depression that took place globally as well, That's the kind of word of global depression right now, same way.
Yeah, man, 1930. Same
All
thing
right.
happened.
So all those things are being repeated, but here now you find out that when I came and started to deal with the whole governance, the approach was because I said some words. The approach of governance is a model. Is that people have realized. So the idea is that Rastafari, but involving government, and you want a model that works in terms of when you move from an undeveloped state to a developed nation state. Look at the model that Haile Selassie manifest within Ethiopia. See? Yeah, remember again the principle as above, so below. And the ethic and the mindset is what governs and determines how you implement the model of governance and service. So when you think about change, it's twice you give one's constitution and revive the constitution. It's twice. It's about empowering people to empower themselves.
Yes.
Those are significant changes being made. So you can find the infrastructure and the education and the healthcare and all those in the amount of scholarship that are being given, but all those elements you can see. So the modernization process that people talk about is a process of changing.
Yes.
When I spoke to that was the League of Nations, Grandpa's League of Nations, the United Nations. See? The ultimate challenge, you say, what was the ultimate challenge? The ultimate challenge is how man have become a new race, you know. There's a phenomenal change you talk about. There's that phenotype you talk about skin, you know. It's about mindset. That must say you're not allegiance to your country, but you're allegiance to the entire human community. So you talk about how you shift the mindset. And if you read like the people who are the Indian people in Raja Yoga, that is what they call a golden consciousness. That shift in a mindset, where you, when I speak about until the philosophy which came out of the meeting in Addis Ababa about all African nations. That about a different kind of being in earth. Different being. And there's a challenge to the entire globe. And I think the same thing I talk to the world on behalf of the world, which is a very unique statement. But how can you talk to the world on behalf of the world?
Right.
I want to give Dr. Asantewaa a chance to jump in there.
Right. I just want to linger for just one moment, if I can, please, on the 13-year-old Ras Tafari. And of course, this is when he gets to Jazmaj. But before that, in his autobiography, he says this, and if you don't mind, I just will read it. It says, from the age of 13 onwards, although my physical strength may not have been great, my spiritual and intellectual powers began to increase gradually, and thus had the entrance gate of this world open. And this was the time at which I started to act on my own will, without being ordered by my tutor, distinguishing good and evil. And as an educator, when I read that, I was like, boom. That window opened for him. I had the privilege of interviewing Dr. Grant Venerable, who's an educator using the old model, pre-Brown versus Board of Education, the African way of teaching children. And he said, it's like windows open at certain times. But if you are not nurtured, the window doesn't open.
Yeah.
Right? So although we can talk about the mystic side of it, that he came to the world to do this, people had to do things to ensure that window opened at 13, right? Yeah. And that's what his father recognized when he gave him the Jazmaj at 13. But what had to happen? Namely, if we go back and we look how child development happens, we see an important central role of the mother. One of the main things she must do is breastfeed. And insofar as his mother left early, we have to surmise that she used every day that she could to breastfeed him. Because even from anciency, it was known that royalty, genius, all those things, its main medium is breast milk, right? And increasing the contact, skin to skin contact between yourself and that child. That had to happen. The brain doesn't even fire if it doesn't happen, right? The mind doesn't open. The windows don't open, right? And not only that, the use of her voice. And I just heard this on National Public Radio this year, that there was a phenomenon a couple years ago where people started using baby Mozart and baby Einstein, these musical types and CDs for children to learn from. Well, all that has now been debunked. Researchers have found it don't matter what kind of classical music you play, it won't hurt the baby. But if you want the baby's mind to open, let the mother sing.
Her voice does not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be beautiful, but the sound of her voice, when they measure the electric current in the human brain, the brain is all lit up. All of these things had to happen. Care had to be poured in. What we call unpaid work here that isn't respected by the dominant culture, but what women must do for geniuses and gods to walk amongst us was done for His Majesty, right? And after his mother left, his primary caretaker being from his maternal side, his maternal grandmother, and whomever else his father put in place to care for him, it had to happen, or those levels of learning, those levels of development would not have manifest. Namely, at 13, it wouldn't have happened. And so I would just like to take a deep bow for the mother of His Majesty who laid this foundation, as we said, from preconception all the way till even after, having physically transitioned to enable his genius to come forward, to enable his godhood to come forward.
You know something about that 13 though. Where them say that at the age of 13, your first eye crystallized into a quartz crystal. See, and the importance of a quartz crystal. A quartz crystal is also a very spiritual crystal, but it's also one that also helps to navigate three-dimensional space. With magnetism and all those things. That's why I use crystals like quartz in watches and things to talk about time and stability. See, but the interesting point that came from the autobiography was that it increased spirituality as well. No, that says that's a very important point for me. I guess why in the West, when the youth first eye start to crystallize into a quartz crystal, then become more caught with other things in the three-dimensional space, and there's almost a neglect of that spiritual dimension.
Yes.
So what was saying just as what the Empress are telling about the preparation of Haile Selassie for the works based on who was the caregivers and things, those persons recognize how to maintain people to maintain that spirituality. Of course, because anytime the puberty start coming in, your body start change up, to deal with physical time and space, So unless you have the guidance to maintain that heretical element, you might not. So just within that statement alone, it tells you so much about the practices around how Haile Selassie was being brought up.
Yes.
So it's some serious, there's, again, if one's really look at how many ancient ones amongst I and I, the whole things around them, you get some insights for our own youth and new development. Remember, you can't do the exact same thing, but you understand the function of certain things.
Yes.
So whether we have to recreate, but there's a functionality. So so 13 is a special age. How do we usher youth in between that stage from?
This is where we're gonna take the reasoning. No, this is where we're gonna take the reasoning.
Yeah. Look at what happens. Why is it important to understand what is happening astrologically surrounding the birth of the youth and things? These are things that are now re-emerging as areas of interest. Knowing at their current age, so people are talking about tarot reading, and people are talking about the sign, and people talking about all of these things, trying to get more meaningful insight into who these beings are. So if you think about a society now that have that practice which has never been unbroken, how much expertise do you think those people have?
Right.
Yes, may I say?
Yeah.
It can be for thousands of years.
And I see Dr. Alicia Blackwood is in the chat. Give thanks for the reasoning. Teach. This is a next powerful academic, from the Rastafari Pan-African family. Dr. Alicia, big up yourself. Let me just say this is where we want to take the reasoning now, because when I was in Jamaica, reason with Dr. Knife and Rasta Boki of Life Yard, we were reasoning about this rites of passage. I reason on this platform with Ras First Man. There's been different guests, and we keep on myself, Bingi Sean in Ghana. We've been having this reasoning about rites of passage, Rastafari specific rites of passage. We heard there His Majesty Lich Tafari talking about his iris opening at 13. What we know is that
with social media, with technology, the youths are being programmed by Babylon, by the algorithm. The algorithm is a programming instrument. If we as Rastafari are not creating a counter program, then we are conceding our youths to the matrix. That means we are just giving up. Because if we think, because we came up a certain way, because most of us are generation X and above, you know what I mean? We have some elder millennials, as they would say, ones, but most of us came up analog and we saw the transition to digital. So a lot of us think that that world still exists, and we don't realize how the youth experience creation is primarily through screens and technology. You know what I mean? This is how the youths them, whether it's school, and you cannot hide from it in most spaces. Yes, in rural areas, it's not there yet, but it's coming. You know what I mean? So, because Micey said nothing is going to stop this spread of technology. This is why Micey embraced it and said we have to control it and know how to manage it. So I want us to really take this conversation in terms of how do we use Lich Tafari as our template. These are two educators here. These are two parents here. And this is why I invited them for this particular topic, because as we celebrate the birth, how can we apply it now to create an educational system? And remember that Ethiopia is the home of the mystery school. Ethiopia preserved the knowledge of what they would call the angels. If you read the book of Enoch, the book of Enoch is all about extraterrestrial activity and people coming down to earth and doing like these. Remember, say the Ethiopian cosmology, how them see it when you go into the ancient text, it's not the same as the European Darwinism and all them things. That these men are heights thing on a completely different level. And when you see all the rock church and say, our man carve out that, and Ethiopian tell you say an angel them come and full up the works them and seal it up in couple of days with Lalabella. We have to know, say, there are two different world views at play here. Ethiopia preserve. And all African societies have extraterrestrial origin in their origin story. None of them are earthbound concept. When you look upon the Dogon, you look upon, but they protect this knowledge, they hide this knowledge, they don't share this knowledge. This is what the mystery school. So as Rastafari, and we're putting our own educational system in place. We also know about the Kushites and the Sumerian text and the Anunnaki, which is a Kushite tradition. You know what I mean? All of these things, how do we implement all of this ancient knowledge? How do we use Lich Tafari as a template? Because remember, he studied Ge'ez, so he would have been mastering this ancient knowledge long before he even touched the European concepts. He was mastering the manuscripts on animal skins and parchment with the Ethiopians them have preserved and put up. He was studying all those things. So how do we take this ancient mystery knowledge with the modern knowledge, with the life of Lich Tafari, and craft an educational system? I'm going to start with the Dr. Asantewaa and then Knife. Give us just some thoughts, because we want to spark the minds that are going to build this. This is our work. Our generation work is to build these institutions. Dr. Asantewaa.
Yes, I give thanks. So I really loved what opened the program, namely an animation of the story of the drought that preceded the birth of His Majesty. And I think that's exactly where it has to go. As you said, you're dealing with children who come up in a digital age and will possibly see and have access to a phone before they have one to a book. You're going to have to use the same platform, the digital platform, in creative ways to pull them in. One of the things that the ancient Greeks noted when they went to the Nile Valley was that they said the children learn by playing. Even the games that the children are playing are teaching them, which tells us that, especially for people at grade 12 or below, you're going to have to introduce this in a way that is fun. That's how they have children locked in the algorithm, is because it's fun, it is flashy, it is It's jumping off the screen to them, and we can make our culture relevant in the same kind of way, even though I'm still holding out that nature is the greatest teacher, and that at a point we're going to have to put down screens and get out into the natural world. There's things that won't happen for you, parts of the brain that won't light up. The heart will not open unless you're walking and dealing and fully vested in the natural world. I truly, truly have seen that as an educator across time, that nature does some of this, a lot of the raising of children, and we have to trust nature to do it. But at the same time, bring our culture up, you know what I'm saying, where it can speak in the digital age and it is accessible in the digital age.
I love that. Dr. Knife, balance.
Yeah. Listen, you find that first, if you really understand these youths, the alpha, these are alpha generation, and we're going into beta. See? And them say generation Z, these are youths who are born in a fully digital age. There's a statement that I read before, my paraphrasing, as says you must learn and adapt new technology, but never forget the ancient ways. See? And if you look at some of these cartoons, for example, like the Airbender.
Yeah.
Look before that. If you watch a show like The Golden Child was really a story. When you look at some of the things that happen in the Golden Child show, some of those are stories I'm talking about last year as well, about the Airbender. And the Airbender, as I said, the last Airbender, but Airbender, remember, the current age is governed by the element of air as well, but air represents mentalism, mind. See? The Raja people also say Earth are going into a golden age because there's an increase in the consciousness of people and things still. See? So I know that aeration don't make any error. And the research has shown that the youths them today, them brain design when I multitask and kind of 5 things at the same time while still paying attention. So the concern is not with the medium through which the information is being given. It might be A, the way the information is presented and we transfer knowledge, and B, which is more importantly, is if you allow these youth to ground themselves within aeration. This is why the plane important, because the plane must take place outside, But a part of the plane is that say you connect back to the earth. So when you expose all these technologies that you are exposed to, which might emit some form of radiation, just by being out in aeration amongst trees, etc., any kind of negative vibes that you have gotten from the electronics itself, it dissipates.
That's right.
You understand me I say? So check it then. So I say remote technology as created for as far as because Farah was the first ones who I know of in the West who actually talk about remote technology. Because they talk about telepathy and I use drum and I lick room. Those are things that have been mimicked now,
Yes, sir.
It's the man that try to mimic the astral plane by saying create a metaverse, or them try to mimic telepathy by creating the internet and things. So they're really advanced in those things, and people are practicing those things as well. So just as how the electronic technology is emerging, the practice of the metaphysics is getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Right. And you find that these youths now born highly metaphysically charged already. See? But as they learn more with the digital technology, it tends to push that back somewhat. So it's a part of what our education system must do is reintroduce metaphysics. And when I'm telling you use the word reintroduce metaphysics. Mm-hmm. I went to a school named St. George's College, the biggest Catholic school in Jamaica and probably in the Caribbean. And as you tell their judges now, where the history and what the priests and the whole of the man them hard. Because we know history and know where the Pope do. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you see in hindsight, when you start thinking about the school and some things you learn, you say, wait. Rome is dangerous,
Yeah.
We try to capture the mass, but But you see the few who them think say is a rebel, they don't pay no mind. Them know you know make you go on, you know. Because them just want to know them have some people. Seeing? But when you start to learn the thing them know. And then I went forward now into the history. At George's religion was compulsory. And when they taught religion, you never have a wrong answer yet. And they will always ask, what do these things mean? Like when I'm saying in Matthew, when say if your eye be single, then the Bible be full of light. Them always ask what that mean. What they mean by the transfiguration, how I'm transformed into pure light. Like Moses and Elijah, when them said Jesus go up into the mountain and transform the pure light, and James and John or whoever was with him could actually see. What do these things mean? But then I learned, that in the 1950s, there was a subject that was called metaphysics being taught at St. George's College.
Okay.
In Jamaica,
Wow.
in the Caribbean, metaphysics was a subject taught at high school. And I turned a bit at St. George's College. Now, what were those metaphysics things that they were teaching people? Metaphysics. So I say now, so note then. So in the age of we are with the technology, we have to expose the youths to the digitized version of the technology. Because I say, we're going to learn and adapt new technology, but we never forget the ancient ways.
That's right.
Because remember, when you talk about the Batawe people in Ethiopia, you have people before the Batawe, when you talk about those people. And in the modernization process that was taking place in Ethiopia, the Batawe still existed and was the most highly respected people.
Yes.
Because every three-dimensional technology mimics
something.
But I do, naturally.
And Ethiopia preserved that you still have monasteries, you have to climb a rope to go up there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Remember, it's a physical part, Because climbing the rope might be the easiest part. It's conquering the fear of falling and climbing the rope.
Exactly.
It's the most important part.
Exactly.
Basically, people will take it. So there's always that part. And so when we talk about our own curriculum, and even a more practical, hardcore thing about schooling and knowledge, which I learned. See, in my own scholarship at UA, I had 3 technologies that I learned from my son, mommy. Mastery learning, experiential learning, and reverse classroom. So because I got a chance to design the degree programs and things that I deliver, seeing the pedagogy match the discipline that I facilitate, which is entrepreneurship, which is both thinking and practice. And so you use experiential learning because it's a generation that is no longer about asymmetric information. Everybody have access to information. It's about how do you apply information that you have access to. And so you learn best by doing, which is what's supposed to experiential learning. But then also what's called reverse classroom. Reverse classroom means that you allow the students to take responsibility for knowledge sharing in the space. Because youths learn more from them peers than from their teacher. But then now in the reverse classroom, I become a student and I start to learn so much because I now learn about the reality of these youths because they're delivering the models, And in delivering models, I present examples and evidence what I'm saying. So you become a student. You become the brightest student in the class, because you learn from everybody.
That's
And again, them think that I'm learning from you. And then the mastery learning means that your objective is to ensure that you master the information.
Yes.
So you have to be very accommodating and facilitating. See? So the learning environment have the one that is very dynamic. So whether you're using inside or outside, I'm saying methodologies are going to be important. How is it that the learning becomes experiential? Through learning by doing. How do you facilitate mastery of information so you can't just use traditional ways of assessing students? See, you can't use a thing where you say them, you test memory as against you assess competence. I mean, iPhone have as much memory for you when we can access, which anybody can access, is the ability to utilize. And the more you use it, is the more you know it.
Right.
And I thought, automatic pilot. You know, so we have to maintain the theoretical element. and we have to now deal with what is required. Remember, I said digital literacy is a crucial thing, you know.
Yes.
Digital literacy is crucial, so you have to about coding and robotics and everything.
I have a question for both of the items. If we're talking about, all right, part of the curriculum is going to be in nature. Part of the curriculum is going to be digital acquisition and mastery. Percentage wise, how do we divide the time in a day or within a semester term? Is it 50-50? Is it 60% outside? Is it 70% nature, 30% digital? Both of the item. I want to hear, what do you think for Rastafari? Because we're creating this, everything we talk about, we have to build. So I'm just hoping that the family know that this is a responsibility. This is not just idle chat. We have the top scholars here. We have Dr. Blackwood in the comments. This is not no joke thing. We have to build it. But what does that look like in terms of percentage? Do we do 70% outside, 30% digital? Is it 50-50? How the item see it?
May I go first?
Yes, yeah, man, go ahead.
Everything contextual. See? So, I in Jamaica, we have big open green space. So I can incorporate a big open green space in my learning environment. No one who do have that kind of space, but go find the best way to do it. You know? So may I say the space and the context determine how you mix the inside, outside. But it's an appreciation for it is very important though.
Yes.
See? So our curriculum must have a kind of ecocentric approach towards where you put creation at the center. Yes. This means when you think about that thing we call deep ecology, there's a Rastafari I speak of. Rastafari is like an ethic for what we call sustainable development, you know. It's an ethic and a practice for sustainable development. So all this is about green technology and all those other things. These are things that Rastafari people have been practicing. There's no, why not I show them, so what you know, these things that the ancients were saying from a long time are the things that we are now doing. We're not about ital light is the best, like a man sing that name song, Jacob Miller. We're not about new forms of energy. It's about solar energy. It's about wind energy. You know, so context, the thing determines the mix. You know, but it's for get people to realize that regardless of where you are, if you are exposed to any form of technology, you need to counter it with exposure to creation as well, to create that kind of balance with the eye.
Yeah. I totally agree. Right? And I would just say, as someone who homeschooled 4 children to college, that we found that technology before 4 p.m., why are we doing it? We don't need it. You have a reservoir of knowledge within that you can't get to if you're not silent. And so the point of the curriculum is not to keep people busy as our modern curriculums are. You know, it is something so that the teacher can keep 30 students in the class. You know, there's busy work at every second. Some of it we'll do some, but we're not a system, right? We will do some. We're going to work today on this. And then, okay, I'm exhausted from that. Can I chill? Yes, because in the chilling is where you're going to be saturated now. And your own inner understanding will rise. So I count that all of that as nature, you know, as away from technology, whether if that we're learning how to bake bread or we're learning how to take care of different types of fabric, all of that I count as working with natural materials. And different things come to you. I was just remembering today as I was putting on some black beans that my daughter said to me, I love it when you ask me to wash the black beans. It releases a natural blue dye. And I never have noticed that before. And I was like, Effie, are you kidding? And we went and she said, yeah, look. And she washed the beans and the water just turned all blue. And where do you get that? How do you observe that?
Exactly.
If you are always running to finish another worksheet, you know what I'm saying? Your own understanding starts to grow. You know what I'm saying? That window can open. I want a T-shirt that says His Majesty was homeschooled. There's almost no way to get at his genius if we're always running behind a system that is trying to produce faithful workers to keep it.
Aye.
Hot. So
That's
you
it's a mindset, you know, fire. Mindset is so
mindset is key.
Yeah, because me mind now, we learn. So you must customize things. Because the average never really change anything. That's why I'm called the average. If you look at the normal distribution curve, it's not the average that causes any change. It's those on the tails, right or the left, which either bring up or pull down the average. And so when the sister mentioned the whole homeschooling provides the best opportunity to customize learning for the student.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly, though. It provides. That's what we are trying to make when you do mastery learning, you know. Because mastery learning is trying to understand how that student learns and give them the chance to learn.
That way, yeah.
So when I like that shirt, but when you say that you can't find a shirt anywhere, when I think about is that, say, no, your daughter who said that the beans is a natural dye, probably she should start that business of putting that shirt. Right. Because you can do a tie-dye with that, cause hey, no, but that's your thing. Cause remember when we say when we say like shoe black, it's a natural dye, the hibiscus plant. Right. Because when people are using fine, say real man and them think that to same way, man. It real man, some knows that dye.
Right.
So I say you're not observing and now say we might make a black bean dye and put on it that high slash I was homeschooled, you know? Yeah, guys, so that other people might want that.
Yeah.
We have Van Rick Pope says, I am the father of 4 and I'm still learning so much right now. You know what I mean? So yes, the reasoning is connecting. Our culture is our cure. Yes. Dr. Black would say, big up Livity 9 say, him agree at 100%. Higher gift is in the place. Big up yourself, higher gift. Him say, heights. Big up yourself, higher gift. Lion Pride and Patreon checking in. Fight Babylon say, fire reasoning. Give thanks. Big up yourself, Fight Babylon, the Lion Pride and Patreon. Now left way out. Powerful information here. Rastaman Vibration say, big up yourself, King. Siom is a word sound in Ethiopia for fasting. Tem Meseto is a word sound for meditation. Mm-hmm. Big up yourself, Nicholas, Nikos. Big up yourself, all our family. Mm-hmm. Every son put up a fire. And we have Excalibur, say respect. So yes, the family is checking in. We give thanks again. Put your comments in the chat. This is collective. We're building a community here on the Lion Voice Network. There's nowhere else you can find these discussions other than Rastafari Independent, non-aligned media. I want to big up Honorable Priest Isaac, who was the Rastafari round table. It's tomorrow. We moved our day from Thursday so that we can allow Honorable Priest Isaac to have that day there. Within the spirit of collective, we're mobilizing Rastafari Independent non-aligned media. Big up Ija Star as well. Big up iYard Radio, Breadlocks, iYard Radio. Big up Yard Real. Rastafari Independent non-aligned media family. We are rising our narrative. We are coming together because this revolution is not going to happen without us having platforms where we can have these discussions, where we can share our voice. Everything we talk about on this platform, we have to build it. This is not a talk shop. This is just to spark the minds, to let people know that there are workers out there. Rastafari, we're not just smoking herb and listening reggae music and run out on a stage. No, we have PhD, we are run departments, we have all kind of different scholars. We have grassroots, we have farmers, we have every facet of a nation of one's healing Rastafari, and we are here to show that. So if you have not subscribed to the platform, subscribe to the platform. We have a lot of new subscribers. that have come in recently. If this is your first time on the platform, welcome to the Lion Voice Network. We are looking for financial support. So we are a crowd-funded platform. We are trying to avoid having to rely on major sponsors. So $10, $25, whatever the item, just join the Patreon and let us build as we build this type of content for our family. All right, so we're done with the housekeeping. We have to do that, family, because again, we are building something. We want to build a production studio on the continent. I want to see some blockbuster films, blockbuster animated movies about the bird. This book here, Haile Selassie's Ethiopia, I want to do an animated film. You saw the commercial in the beginning. That is the vision for it. It's a blockbuster animated movie about the birth of His Majesty with the Kefu Khan, with all of the things. You know that in 1892, Menelik marched on Tigray. The whole army of Showa marched up to the border of Tigray, and the only reason he did not invade Tigray to put down Ras Mengesha and Ras Alula is because of the Kefu Ken. Tigray had been decimated by the famine, and he knew that they didn't have the supplies to sustain the supply line from Showa all the way into to Tigray. So this shows you the state of Ethiopia. This was not a unified empire. This is where the emperor had to march his army to Tigray to say, listen, no rebellion is going to happen right now. But he had to turn back again because of the Kefu Khan. So all of these things, we want to put this in a film so that our youths, just like how they would watch Spider-Man, they would watch all of these big animated films. We want to see that level of animation, but for Ethiopian and African history, and not just Ethiopian history, but Zulu, the Ashanti, the Yoruba. There are so many African stories that would do well in animation. Even the same Book of Enoch, all of these things, the angelic realms, you know, the Anunnaki, all of these things from an African Kushite perspective need to be told by us in different formats, whether it's blockbuster films like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In ARC, we talk about the Rastafari Cinematic Universe that needs to happen. But these are things we have to fund it ourselves, family. There's no one, I keep saying this, coming to save us. If we don't invest in ourselves, then we are delusional if we think this is going to continue. Babylon will sweep and we will disappear because everyone is funding their agenda. So in the same way, we have to fund our agenda. All right, I'm long-winded. Let's get back to the topic. Ras Tafari and this model for African education. What are we talking about in terms of funding? Because what I'm hearing is there's some type of homeschool collective model that we could implement where there's a maybe a hybrid. My youths go to a hybrid homeschool collective right now where they're in a building with other students, but all the students are really homeschool and they do things collectively, you know, and the parents fund this endeavor. What are we thinking about in terms of a scalable model that can mold these our own Ras Tafaris and Empress Menens? How the item see it, and what in terms of funding are we looking at?
You know, I think that is so interesting because over the years I've really found that it is something of a falsehood to assume that, you know, generally your Black family does not have it. The bigger struggle, and I heard you mention this earlier, is to get African people to realize that this is something of value. Yes. And if they valued it and understands its worth and impact for the next generation, they will pay up. They find a way. They sell cookies, they whatever, taffy apples, they find a way to get that money to you, right? And what I think we as a people are struggling with is putting value back on ourselves and what we produce in some sort of way. As soon as NASA opens their summer camp, everybody, even the parents who say they don't have no money, has the $200 application in. And you're submitting that $200 application with the hope that your child is going to get into the NASA summer camp. They might not, and your $200 is gone. And then you're going to come up with the $1,000 that NASA needs for your child to even attend. You're going to find a way, right? So the money is already amongst us. It's just to get us to take our value off of whatever else, has all the shine and all the glory associated with it, and put it on what we do already. That is really what I see.
And I find that again in our age where there's access to information, there's a lot of open platforms, and it allows one to be in different places to deliver information. So in reality, again, you can outside in the yard, I might have a Wi-Fi access with them laptop, but the Empress daughter, I show him how to make the dye from the peas in a virtual summer camp. Have you watched what I say?
Yes, I.
So we can have the proximity component. Who knows we are carrying a particular space to support learning, but also to use remote technology to learn from my Rastafari brethren in Chile. How them grow quinoa, how them prepare quinoa. Because we have a nutrition class.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because part of the trail of ice last year was to build and develop all of Africa, because a networking you are creating. Now the internet actually create a bigger network in terms of more space. The Rastafari wants from so many different places can be speaking on different things. I remember say your education, you might have a strict curriculum for education, but your whole development is broader than those things. And so much people with so much different skill set that can be sharing with people on different kind of platform. So check it then. Lion Talk could have a part of a platform which is an educational element. Where from time to time, my parents say, all right, I come deliver some information on how to deal entrepreneurship. And next one, I come deliver information on them specialization. So I'm saying using the ICT platform, it creates a space where different ones, Rastafari ones, can be sharing, even having classes, having sessions. Because you have people, a master teacher who can know, say, all right, they have a master class with some youth.
Yes.
This particular time, and we are doing no cost, we're not doing no cost, we are doing that as a, why they might have the other structured one as they say no. And these are going to things that are concentrated in one space. Because as I say, you can do something in Ghana with some youth, a year settings, but Asantewaa can decide to do something in a fair space. Probably even the university facilities, if you're using university facilities to run a program, or you use whatever you're using. So I'm saying that the space allows for a lot of knowledge transfer, some structured, some not so structured, but all will be a space where people learning. And remember saying, if you learn the mechanics of maths, because you might do things that actually are sharpen your brain, as the acumen we are thinking about. Is it that the camp going to be focused on mind skills and practices? Is it that I'm going to have a camp now which probably carry a youth to a book like the Master Key? In a sort of way, when I show them how to do the power of concentration and meditation, how to keep still, how to breathe, when I learn these things. So there's so much. I am saying there's so much. So it's now how do I and I collaborate and get some of these things done. And have a centralize everything, man.
Yeah, man.
So the area to know, say, all right, different ones at different spaces can get access to information and share. And I let me learn from Ice last year where we know say him not no copyright on certain things. See? So I think open access and universal accessibility is going to be important. And may some specific terms right there, so now, which means that remember there's still have persons who are Rastafari who might be visually impaired, you know. And so when you put out a book, how that man get access to that information? So if you think about all those elements, or you think become really inclusive of persons who have certain special needs, but still need to get information, you know?
Truly.
So that's why Farah said, I don't know why offense.
Right.
So at the same, so we are doing knowledge and information. We
Right.
share as much as we can share, and we facilitate as much as we can facilitate. But again, I want to emphasize that grown in oneself. If you're Rastafari teacher, and think about when I walk with no steppers, and now wear no shoes, and I walk in the dirt and the grass and things, it really grows you. And so I have my cell phone, and I have a watch by my hand, which is a smart watch now. So when I complete the discussion, because I inside the house, I go in straight outside, but stand up in the grass. Road I fire. You know, I set it set up.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna do that. So I use this facility now for communicating with the bridging and I learn from people and be more people, but I'm fully aware, say, we after this reason, seal up now, go outside and go out in the dirt and yeah. Grows back yourself.
I want to show the power of this platform. First of all, big up yourself, Liberty 9. We have Sister Isla, who's also had a homeschool collective, Rastafari Basic Academy. She is also part of the leadership of ARC Association and Rastafari Creatives, which I'm also a founding member. And she's letting us know that ARC will have a virtual summer camp August 12th to the 16th. More info will be shared soon, and we'll have Sister Isla, if she can, on this program to talk about the camp. And there's, I know Aya Gift, Ras Maya also working on that summer camp. So that's going to be, I think, a virtual camp. So that's why I say everything we talk about on this platform, ones are already dealing with it. Dr. Blackwood says, of course, African Culture School Inc. has a proven framework.
All right.
To share, and collaborate, just link and I'm very familiar with African Culture School. They partner with Habesha, and they took many students to Africa, to Ethiopia and Ghana. So I'm very familiar with the work of the African Culture School. So we have these models within the community. What we need is a brain trust to bring this together, and then we need to identify the funding, the capital. We need to create endowments and things of this nature collectively that can fund these things. And as you say, it can be hybrid, it can be sub-open source, it can be collectives. We can have buildings where, because my youths, when my youth spent a year in Ghana during the pandemic, and they were on a homeschool collective virtual. They were taking virtual classes with other students, and it was rough on them being online all of the time. So I understand the need to balance and have some things where they can connect with other students online, some things where they can connect with things locally, because it's good for youths also to interact with each other and interact with other like-minded youths, especially because particularly our Rastafari youths, it's good when they can see other youths with locks. They can be around other youths that think like them, so that they can, they can get that validation by their peer group. Because when they're young, they want to be with their peers. They want to have those connections and those linkages. And that's one of the things that our youths as Rastafari are suffering from in many areas, is that they don't have any other Rastafari youths around them, or enough, or they're not connected. And we can break some of those things through the virtual platform, and also meetups. One of the things we did in Ghana was that we had meetups once a month with other youths, and they would meet up and they would go on field trips and they would deal with different activities, and that was very successful. So the point is, we have to bring the educators together. And we have to not just talk about curriculum, but we have to talk about funding. And one of the reasons that I established the Association of Rastafari Creatives is so that we could have a centralization mechanism to try to bring some of these minds together, because alone we can't do it. And I keep saying no one is coming to save us, family. If you're waiting on Rasta Jesus, you are going to wait till week, or Rasta Superman to come fly down. It's I and same people where you look at and you don't value, and the same people have to come together. And then it says enough love to Priest Isaac Institute Homeschool as well. And again, big up Priest Isaac. The reason that we move our lives to Wednesdays because Honorable Priest Isaac have his show on Thursday night, and we want to not have the overlap because we have a lot of the same audience at the same time. So we have Priest Isaac, we have Honorable Priest Kailash, who also has his institute. We're not lacking resources in Rastafari. We need to come together now and to connect the dots and to build this network so that we can route people through all of these institutes and our youths and have a pathway. You know, I always said that we need a rite of passage where the youth them can start as Lidge and they transition to the Chaz match, and then they get certifications, and same thing on the sister side, they take it and then get different phases where they're learning about the king and the queen, and they're also because remember as Lidge, Abba Samuel is there, he's learning, he has also Dr. Vitalien from Guadeloupe and Martinique where he's learning French, he's learning, so language acquisition was part-time thing. He learned Latin in that time as a youth. So our youth should be learning Amharic, Swahili, Tree, you know what I mean? In addition to maybe Latin and some of the classic languages as well, so they can study them history in the native language. There's no limit to what our curriculum can look like for our youths, because we know youths are like sponges, you know what I mean? So it's just for I and I to come together and to have some templates that we can use so that we can craft our youths to, because Rastafari, the future is Rastafari, and we have to prepare our youths to inherit this great future that we're building, this heaven on earth. It has a need administration. So the youth them have to be the ones who administrate this brethren, you know what I mean? Akeem said, how the item cite Haile Selassie being coronated at 38 and disappearing at 83. All right, numerology time, Dr. Knife.
Yeah. Okay, I just advise the brethren on one thing.
Yeah.
That is a power number, which is 11. Just go online and type in power number 11 and you see what they say about that power number. Yeah, because there is a really important thing about eye consciousness. See? So check it out. Just go online and type in 11 man and see what the power number is. The double number is 11.
I. 11 is also I too.
Yes, I. Yeah. So check that out, man. But you see, I'm gonna tell you what I'm learning to do, Yeah. It'll be interesting for the I'm to tell you what I'm thinking about it as well, too, because we find that beings have so much in them. And we have our head and we have an answer and we have a reason behind it, but we don't really say it out. And sometimes you want a kind of validation from an external source. But we find out that your own iris towards it is very crucial.
Yeah, man. Type it down, Akeem. I'm big up Akeem.
Yeah, we want to share some of those things,
Yeah, man. Akeem is really lion pride. Type it, Akeem.
What level is. Actually, you can check it out on my phone as well. But yeah, man, 11 is that phone number of the duality as well,
Yeah, and I was saying, Akeem, type in what you think those things represent as well, so we can hear your sound on it as well. Do you have any sound on the brethren question, Dr. Asantewaa?
You know what? I know numerology, but not like as beautiful as I'm hearing it tonight. So I'm gonna let Dr. Knife hold that one. Yeah.
And that's what I love about these scholars. If it's not their lane, that's how you know, say them serious. Them don't try those build to fail.
All right.
Go ahead.
You hear what I'm saying now? 11 is considered a master number with high frequency creative energy that links us to the spiritual realm. Remember the virgin asked, See?
38.
Yeah. At 83. when you repeat the seed number 11, it's as if the universe is gently nudging you to awaken your spiritual self and connect with your higher purpose. No, what's the story about Haile Selassie? You know, there are a lot of stories about the sighting of Haile Selassie as Abakidos. And what is the focus right there? You know, I've seen some videos of people speaking about it. And says that tradition of many ancient Ethiopian emperor now. So after them finish dealing with this physical governance space, then we'll do a kind of spiritual governance practice as well. You know, so numbers are very accurate. It don't mean that you get the response, the answer for everything out of it, but it gives you a very meaningful insight. Yes. And it is consistent.
And I'm slow, you know. I just realized that both numbers were 11, so I'm slow.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. 8 and 3, 11 and 3 and 8.
That's the point. 38, which is 11, and it disappeared 83, which is also 11. And then what you just said. That's why I love this trad, you know, because you're always gonna learn something new.
But remember, I said the same thing with 1936 and 1963 too, you know.
Yes.
I see with 1936 when made the speech at both United Nations, League of Nations.
I'm telling you, big up Bongo Wisely, Saint Lucia checking in, Ayanola, our Ella Bongo Wisely, there, big up yourself, Asian. This is really a joy. And then Judami Williams said, as above, so below.
Yeah, man. So you see, and this is the beauty of fire. I say Rastafari.
Yeah.
That's why some of the ancients them still, right? The ancient them rise and talk of some things in a time where it's taboo, you know. Because, and I link it forward to things like the sativa herb at the time, as against what the people are using now. When the one I'm going to them heights of reasoning and a lot of things revealed to self, and them speak it out. Out in the esoteric, that's a man say, what you know is madness that you attack. Because, and them don't use, and the madness them attack is because it's beyond the traditional discussion I'm usually hear. I am saying to the fire, I yet to find something that the ancient them say that has been shown to be incorrect today.
Right.
Every something where the ones them chant off. From them Irish to them sip to all the relate to people. And I show ones that when I look at even contemporary things, they could call the sustainable development goals. That's why they show one that the sustainable development goals, they look at the first 6 goals. Those are reflected in the creed of Rastafari, you know.
Right.
But when you look at the all 17 goals, those are reflected in the whole liberty of Rastafari. Even the last goal matter about partnerships, because I talk about people working together to get things done. You talk about clean water, clean sea, clean land, clean this. Seeing greener forms of technologies. You know what I mean? So it's by the first 6, 0 hunger, 0 poverty, access to water and sanitation. People talk about access to education. People talk about, and they talk relevant education. So people not talk education like people talk before, you know. With this rote learning approach, you know. See? You talk about gender equality. Rastafari has spoken a lot about gender. When I even talk about Haile Selassie and Empress men being incarnated in the same day, it's a break. It's a serious because you talk about the head of the stream.
Right.
And if you look at gender equity, no matter about it, must be reflected in the governance structure. You check that out for yourself when you see it, when you read the discourse around gender. It must be reflected in the governance structure. So I say for you, so when I really sit up and think of the things that the ancients them say, and we're practicing, I say even today, we might be using different words, but I'm saying these are new words and new concepts. These things are being done. I show you the foresight
of the people.
This is the point I wanted to make when you talk about education to see. Because when you talk about preparing educational programs, you anticipate where do you see myself in the future, you know, what that future is going to be like. See, it's like one time I say, one of my sons say, what you know? We're going to live up in the mountains. And because you live on the mountain now, you probably should get a backhoe. Because you have to talk about cut road and do certain things. And I said twice, what you know about boy, you know, say, within them time, we don't do a backhoe because I might be using a hovercraft. So I think about driving on the road, well, I say, no, within 5 times, it's a hovercraft, but we use, no matter which part today, we can always reach it. And I say, no. So I am now preparing. As I said, in education, everything's about serving the customer, you know. And the only way you can truly understand what is going to satisfy the customer is by speaking to that customer. Now, speaking might be having a conversation, but speaking might also be caveat about little children. That's about what it is going to be like. What are these youths' minds like? What do I need to put in place? So, for example, many youths today suffer from serious information deficiency because their brain process information so rapidly. The rate at which we feed them the information is too slow. And that is a part of the fact that, as you had mentioned earlier, many of us who are beyond Generation Z, seeing the X, the Y, well, before Z, many of them are socialized in an analog age. And if you're socialized in an analog age, I have not transitioned. How do you prepare to treat youths who are born in a fully digital age? Because the rate of their brain operation, because of them socialize, is just naturally faster than yours. So you reprogram your brain now, you know, to deal with these youths. But suppose you are unwilling to do so, you can't appreciate the genius of these youths. So you call it bad behavior. And, you know, I saw this during COVID. So during COVID-19, you are used to, and this is in Jamaica now, you are used to a regular face-to-face class with 35 youths or 40 youths in the class. I have a session for 1 hour. And you prepare a teaching plan, a lesson plan, taking into consideration the nature of your class and knowing that with my lesson plan, I'm going to spend at least half an hour of that time trying to deal with corrective behavior measures to youth in the class because I taught enough and ray. So I'm going to deliver the material in 30 minutes. Now here comes COVID and everything is online. And you prepare the same lesson plan. And so you don't have to deal with them behavior because you're not there to with them in front of you. What do you think happened? A lot of teachers deliver the material in 20 minutes and don't know what to do for the rest of the 40 minutes. You see, Fire? So it's a serious thing.
I witnessed that with my youths, you know.
Yes, I showed you Fire. So the youth, them brain processing information so fast. And when them have the difference, them start to pay attention to things outside because you have completed your thing now. You're saying, why I'm not paying attention to the class? Why I'm looking outside? Why I'm doing that? But your brain is designed to absorb information.
Right.
What would happen to us inadvertently as children, you know, is that some of us were introduced to things like yoga because we process the information so fast and the teacher says, get up, she put in the corner, go stand up on a one leg, which is an introduction into a triple. So she get one leg and say, hold on by her ear, but she don't know it's a 3 poster she put in the door, so by the time we get big now. But you know, but for me, what we like that. You know, or she might say, oh, she punches and say, go and sit in the corner and learn to be quiet. And do not know that it's much easier to speak than to be quiet and remain still. So even the punishment was like a preparation. You know, but for these youths, I'm saying, their brain operates so quickly. But to ensure, and that is why the danger is now the internet, because them absorb such information. So if they are fed with the wrong information,
right.
You know, and I see why you know the platform crucial because we never have a barrage of I know who are educators who have so much homeschool platforms. They can say, watch out, check this out, man. You know, and I always tell my youth themselves to play 4 times as much as in the schoolwork, you know, because playing stimulates creativity. The right side of your brain, and that is very important. And you can always use the left side of your brain to process the information. But they're not creative and innovative, then become nothing but a copybugger. They're just going to look at what other people have done and try to regurgitate. So you allow them space to play, to generate ideas. And then you also let them know of discipline now to apply that in certain areas. It might not work as smooth as what I'm saying it now. But just having that kind of mindset, okay,
Definitely.
playing is equally or even more important than a mechanical curriculum.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I.
Serious. Yes, Dr. Asantewaa. You look like your screen is frozen,
It's
but
frozen. I don't know if you can hear me though.
yeah, I hear the eye clearly. So
Okay.
just pick up, and then after the eye seal up, we're gonna have our final statements. We're gone 2 hours already, believe it or not,
Yeah.
So I really give thanks for both of the item. I want to give the eye a chance to address the topic, and then we're gonna go into our closing statements. So if any questions in the comments, now is the chance. We're going to seal up. I'm asking for a little bit of overtime from the family. We give thanks for everyone who watched this live and the hundreds that will watch it on the replay. This is the type of content that we want to bring. We want to move this thing forward. We don't just want to talk about the history, but we also want to have conversations to move this to the next level, because we know what Rastafari is capable of, and now we have to design, we have to build, we have to implement. And I keep saying this, we have to fund ourselves, the crowdfunding model. We have to identify the institutions that are serving us, and we have to fund them. But go ahead, Dr. Asantewaa.
Yes, I just want to say quickly. I heard Dr. Knife say earlier that in addition to teaching, all the new things that will come with the digital age and that are here really with the digital age, our ancestors have left us a plethora of knots to untie, the mystery systems that we must not neglect. One of the things that my King Man always reminds us is of the song that is out by Burning Spear, put out years ago, where he said they took us away from Africa with the intention to steal our culture.
Yes,
Like, they want to keep us frozen in essence long enough so they can untie your mystery system and then use it to conquer you. And so, like, even the whole idea that like you teach children, and now that you don't have to control their behavior, you have nothing else to say. We get to that point. All people who deal with children is like, oh, you learned it already. And one of the things I did when the children were younger was like, then we go to music. Now, can you express this a different way? Music is infinite. You know what I'm saying? Music is never done. So, are you finished? Okay, now you're gonna let's go to the musical phase of this, and listening even to music and interpreting music, using music as text. I wanted to tell Dr. Knife that there was a recording that you did with Janine on the herb, and we have used that, oh my God, in homeschool settings. Slow it down, use only certain parts. We have such rich curriculum already. We just have to make it make sense, right? One of the things you say in that recording was talking about how Pinnacle was already ecologically balanced. It was already water secure. It was already food secure. These are ideas that are just coming up now in the dominant culture, but our ancestors already knew that. You know what I'm saying? And so we just have to interpret what we have, right? And we have a rich canon musically. We have a rich canon mythologically from our African ancestors. We have a rich canon historically. We have a rich canon psychologically, sociologically. There's so much. So we just have to make it make sense, line it all up. And our children will get the best of the new world, the digital world, and the gifts of their ancestors. Give thanks.
Cool. Give thanks. All right, so Dr. Knife, you give us your final statement, how people can tap into what they are dealing with, and then we'll have Dr. Asantewaa seal us up. But family, this was a joy for I. Two educators I respect highly. You know what I mean? We have a special episode coming up where I reason with Dr. Knife and Rasabuki of Life Yard, Sister Tiana. That is going to be on the channel. I reflect that I have known Knife over 20 years now. We had a sister in the reasoning that wasn't even born when I Amen. You know what I mean? So that is a joy, you know, if you know how long that we're trying this road, you know, and the work that's happening, and you know, we're working together on many different aspects in terms of future forecasting and planning. So this is the platform where all of that will be reasoned, and where we'll be able to show the progress. So it's not just having these reasonings with these educators and keeping in the theory. We're making connections behind the scenes. Works are happening. You know, people will see Dr. Asantewaa, they'll reach out. Other sistren are here watching, connecting. We've had sistren connect through the platform. So there's a lot happening just by creating these platforms and having the reasonings and sparking the energy. And this is why I'm so passionate about this right now, because again, as I said in my opening, I'm in Washington, D.C. City's locked down today. We had Benjamin Netanyahu come and say, we need the tools faster so we can end the job faster. The man make a war speech today where, you know what I mean? Me I say, Rastafari, the thing I will get dreadful right now, family. Global shipping, all of them things that got shut down. So we have to be in a preparation mode right now as Rastafari. The judgment is non-partial. I was with Dr. Knife right before Hurricane Barrel, and I went to the supermarket in him yard, you know what I mean? I tell you, the bubble a sip, everything come from the brethren yard, spinach, plantain, banana, green banana, ackee, straight off of the tree. Pick the ackee them with self off of the tree with the long stick. We have all of that video behind them. Mango, you know what I mean? Guinea, we have guinea till we can't eat no more guinea, all of these things. So while the supermarket was packed with people during Barry, you couldn't even find parking. I was at the brethren yard, just going through the yard, and we leave with a big bag full of food sovereignty, food security. So this is the irates that we are on right now, you know what I mean? This is the energy that we are on right now, and we are coming together with this collective security. So I just want to thank my guests. I want to thank all of the Lion Pride who showed up for this Reasoning Live. We are here every Wednesday, 8 p.m. So please put it on your calendar. We are bringing top tier guests from around the planet Earth, Rastafari faithful, from the grassroots to the highest levels of academia, to the scientists, to engineers. You will see them on this platform. So lock it in every Wednesday, 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Jamaica time. We will be here. We are also, again, I'm aiming to have 100 people in our Patreon by the end of this summer. So we're asking ones who can support the platform financially, $10, $25 a month, which is, I mean, if you do $10 a month, that's $2.50. And I'm asking you, how much do you value Rastafari independent, non-aligned media? I'm asking, is it worth $2.50 a strong? If it is, and it don't have to be, you know, you can be honest. But if it's worth $2.50, then come and join, give $10 a month to the platform. If I have 1,000 people doing that, then guess what? We can employ staff, we can build, and it don't take nothing off of any individual person. We want to build this to a level. So that's where we're going, family. We want to have Rastafari news programs, Rastafari blockbuster film, Rastafari, and I keep saying this because I want the item to know the vision and to know that it has to be crowdfunded. We're not going to get there individually. It's I and I have to fund I and I, Rastafari independent, non-aligned media. All right. So again, give thanks. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the platform, like, share, drop a comment so that we can boost the algorithm. We are shadow banned on YouTube. Our channel was suspended because we talked about the vaccine and these things. I shouldn't even say the word because, you know, these people, the censorship is real right now. So make sure you sign up on our email list so that you can get the newsletter. If we ever get taken off of YouTube, that don't stop nothing. We find a next platform and we continue. So join the movement. This thing is real, and we are continuing to rise. Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media. That means we're non-aligned. We're not just here for Nyabingi or 12 Tribe or Bobo Shanti. We're here for all of Rastafari, all Pan-African. If you're a European, you're welcome, but just know that we are focusing on our core, our root right now, because we have to build the root so that it can sustain the branches. You know what I mean? So this channel is focused on people of African descent and the Pan-African family. But that doesn't mean that all are not welcome. We welcome everyone because it's humanity. We are members of a new race, owing allegiance not to countries, but to our fellow brothers and sisters and humanity. And we find unity within the diversity, and unity does not mean uniformity. All right, that's my long speech. Dr. Knife, give us your final word sound, and then we'll go to Dr. Asantewaa to get the sealing sound.
Two things. I think in our graduation ceremony with the Haile Selassie University, Haile Selassie made a statement that says that university is first and foremost a spiritual institution. See? Mm-hmm. I think we have to always remember that, because the iris, once the iris is clear, seeing all other elements should be clear in terms of what the institution offers. The second thing that I want to highlight though is that in ancient Kemet, in a text I think it's called Herbach by Lubix, when the person is going to enter into the mystery system, as the Empress had mentioned earlier, of ancient Kemet, the first instruction before entering the mystery system, which is a great pyramid, would have been to go into the farm. You know what I say? So, the meditation, the iris and the earth. Mm-hmm. As religious might say, the heavens and the earth. Mm-hmm. Crucial. As above, so below. Right. So, we must ensure that the educational system is very grounded, but guided by a clear iris and purpose. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
Give thanks, Dr. Knife. And how do people reach the eye? If people want to reach the eye, how can they reach the eye?
Hey, I tell you upfront, I don't mind sharing information, but I stay in terms of yeah, I can just say for my gates, not for the time. But once you connect with them, man, because you have a number. And
yeah, man. So if you want to connect with Dr. Knife, just subscribe to my advice.
WhatsApp are the best way for share a number with the one who want to reach out. Or you can connect via WhatsApp and things. But we do have any other things them for you.
Yeah, man.
We take over time for them things, No, seriously. And no, we find social platform, they're them good for manage these things like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I really for us reason anyone man via email or WhatsApp and things.
WhatsApp.
See?
All right. So reach out to I and subscribe and become part of the Lion Pride and we work it out. Dr. Asantewaa, final word sound.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think the life of His Majesty, more than anything, calls us to our highest good, and who he was. Our children can be also, if we follow the pattern that was given. And he was very clear about the pattern. And we can infer a lot of things from how he manifested, especially the role of the mother. But as Dr. Layla Africa has said, the role of the father is equally important, because as he nourishes and loves the mother, even the nutrient density of her breast milk increases. So I'm just saying that let's not leave off any parts. We can reproduce, bringing gods and goddesses to this world. That is my firm stance, right? And if people would like to reach me, meninchronicles@gmail.com or the website www.meninchronicles.com.
Give thanks. So family, this is Lion Talk Live once again every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Give thanks for everyone who has come here to hear. These are university professors who are educating the next level, but they took their time to educate our Lion Pride family and what we're building here. Why? Because the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion Voice. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
First.
Rastafari.
Yes, I press Asantewaa, give thanks.
Yes, hi. Dr. Knife, I love it. Yes, hi. Yes, hi. Give thanks. Yes.
Yes, my people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I will say, hear the Lion Voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
It's AWTITUDE representing for Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we know Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire, pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence, Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence, flash of all sevens, projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and overstanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day, reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, reign and rule. Yes, I Lion Vibes, Selassie, reign and rule. Attitude say that Boondocks, Black Organization of Global Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the world, till the end.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's Voice. Now put it, I jolly for say that.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here, hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.